We're here now. We're here now for the 106th episode of the MFer podcast, and I thank you folks for joining me, however late, however embarrassingly inept, but you know what? We're doing it. How are all of you? How are all of you? Oh my God, it's still got the old stream elements in there. I don't even know if that's connected to anything, so if you guys decide you want a tip, I would probably just do a super chat, because I don't know. That's an old thing I used to set up when I was doing this with Vidge. Anyway, here we are. Here we are, finally. I wasn't able to get like a chat overlay, so unfortunately I won't be able to put any of your chats up on the screen today, but I am still obviously reading it. Speaking of which, I've got a super chat right out the gate. Jamalama, Iran is the clown show. I voted for peace. Yes. Yes, Jamalama. Thank you very much for saying that. Thank you very much for saying that, because I have to be honest, since this war has popped off, my main beef is with MAGA supporters. My main beef is with the so-called right wing. Thank you very much for the $2 super chat. I have been arguing with these idiots like Dermy Wormy. Does anyone know who Dermy Wormy is? He's like in this part of YouTube. I was arguing with that idiot for like an hour yesterday, and he's just talking like Israel's talking points. He's talking like Lindsey Graham's talking points, completely unscrutinized, absolutely no research into any of this, just taking it all at face value. Oh my word. So we're going to talk about this war. We're going to get into this a little bit and talk about this whole situation that has just you know what? I think one thing that needs to be said more than anything, and it's been said plenty, but say it loud, say it proud. Nick Fuentes was right, folks. Nick Fuentes was 100% vindicated, correct. He was right. What he said back in 2024 was that he was not going to vote for Donald Trump, because what he said was going to happen when Donald Trump got in office is that he wasn't going to do mass deportations and they were going to go to war with Iran. Everyone said that he was crazy.
No party's wholly responsible.
People said
for what went wrong or what went well.
The background there. Okay. Not only that, they said he was a Fed. He was a Democrat plant. He was a plant by the Democrat establishment working for the FBI to subvert Trump and the Republicans. Okay. So everyone, go home, fill out your forms, fill out your Fuentes was right forms. They're all owed and due, because I didn't know. I thought he was a Democrat plant or some kind of agitator. Well, he was right. He was right. He said when Nikki Haley went to Israel and talked with Mary Matelson, retards you follow said that. Well, retards here in this chat. I mean, this retard on the fucking stream. Anyway, look, back in 2024, Nikki Haley, running against Trump, goes to Israel, endorses Trump to Mary Matelson. Trump gets the call, gets $100 million to become president again. And Fuentes says that was when he knew. That's when he knew we were going to war with Iran. Now, I'd like to just take everyone on a little mental time journey. We're just going to jump back in time for a little while. Let's get our time machines, fire them up. Okay, we're going back to just June of 2025. I'd like to re-enlighten you of how everything went back then, because it was a pretty fun time. If you were here on this channel, if you were watching this show, you probably saw me freaking out, because I didn't handle it well, because I was all on board with this MAGA train. I thought this was the right call. I thought this was the best possible case for this presidency. Okay, so what starts happening back then? All of a sudden, all this propaganda starts kicking up about the Iran nuclear program, right? It's a big deal. And it came pretty hard and fast, because I was watching I went to a live podcast of Scott Horton. And Scott Horton was talking about the whole Iran nuclear bomb situation. I was kind of like, he's really going into a lot of detail about this. And this was only a few months before all the propaganda started kicking up. So if you remember, all of a sudden, they started peppering us with all this propaganda about what was going to happen with what's up, Zax? You guys are a lot of people here. I should probably say hello to you, but I'm just like ready to just kick it all off because I'm so far behind. And there was all this propaganda. Oh, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. That is the end all be all. It's the worst possible thing that can happen. Okay. And so Israel's like, all right, well, we're going to go to war. We're going to go to war with Iran. We're going to start bombing them. Okay? And we don't even need the United States of America's help. We don't even need your help. We're Israel. We're big. We're bad. It's fine. Well, 24 hours later, they did need our help. They very much did. And then there were people, Dave Smith, someone I'm a fan of, someone I follow, Scott Horton, right? Nick Fuentes. All these people are like freaking out because it's like, well, wait, if we go in, then we're going to war with Iran. And like, don't you panicans worry about that. This isn't war. This isn't regime change. What are you guys, conspiracy theorists? No. What they're doing is they're going in to stop the nuclear program in Iran. That's all it is. And look, did you see this just a few days later? It happened. Ooh, la-di-da, we did it, okay? So all of you closeted liberals, which is what they accuse you of if you're not for this ridiculous war, you panicans, you turncoaters, you didn't trust the president. Look, he did it and we're out. There's no regime change. What the fuck are we doing now? The president himself, the mask is off. The truth is out. It's regime change in Iran. For what, folks? For what? Okay? So let's just remember, right? Let's just put ourselves back in 2024, right? We were all pumped for the rise of Trump. We were going to get this country back on track, right? Does anyone remember this? I remember this. That's why I was so excited. That's why I was pumped, during the summer. All the wins that the dubs that fucking Trump was putting up day in and day out, and the Biden disaster of a debate, and then Kamala, and it was like great, okay, but what did we want out of Trump? Right? I like Trump. I think he's charming, but I don't want him just there simply because he's like Trump. Right? I like Trump because of what I thought he was going to do. What did he say he was going to do? What were the big things Trump said he was going to accomplish in this administration? Does anyone remember? I know it was a while ago. I know it was 18 months ago, and we're all goldfish-brained. But does anyone remember? What were the big things? Mass deportations. Immigration. Biggest one. Number one policy, right? Huge. Got to make sure we stop mass immigration and get those mass deportations off the ground. That's number one. That's huge. Okay. What's number two? Tariffs. Tariffs, guys. We're gonna reset this trade imbalance. We're going to reset this trade imbalance, and we're going to make sure that our trading relationships with the rest of the world actually favor the United States of America so that we can bring manufacturing back, we bring jobs back, we close the loops and the holes that were created by NAFTA. Remember? Doge. Number three, we were going to get all this reckless spending under control. We were going to get Elon in there and Vivek, and they were going to go nuts. Because these guys are business guys. They're autistic. All they think about is efficiency and optimization. We're going to get them in there, and they're just going to gut the government. They're going to open up all this spending, all this waste, fraud, and abuse. They're going to take care of it. And what was the last one? Would you guys like to put it in the chat? What was the last one that we elected Trump for? Oh, yeah. All those Middle Eastern wars were a gigantic failure. They were a gigantic, embarrassing disaster that cost us trillions with a T of dollars, killed millions of people, displaced millions more, created a refugee crisis in Europe, crushed the soul of America, and was our longest war in history, and we got nothing out of it. So do you guys remember all these things? Well, I'd like to let you know, all the things we just walked through, we're not getting any of them. None of them. Not one. No mass deportations. The highest numbers I've seen estimated are maybe 600,000. And I think those are wildly optimistic. I think what's realistic is probably like 300, 350,000. No tariffs just got overturned by the Supreme Court, so we don't have that. And not only that, there's actually going to be refunds on those tariffs. And someone in the government, Howard Lutnick, okay, who's named in the Epstein. Oh, yeah, that's the other one. And that's the other one. I forgot. There's just so many losses. You forget. No Epstein files. Yes, technically we got them. Once Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who sacrificed her career on the altar of getting those out, once they bulldogged the president and Congress and forced them to release them, yes, then they came out. And by the way, there's still 3 million of them not released. These all came out redacted. There's still millions not released. I heard it alleged, I don't know how accurate it is, but I heard it was alleged that many of them were around the time of 9/11, which may or may not be true, but if true, suspicious as fuck. So all these things we were promised, our golden age, all this stuff is bupkis, bullshit. And my question is, when is it enough for people to get off the Trump train? How many more times do we have to be lied to and misled and used? And now we're in this war, and it's like, who knows what's going to happen next? Who knows how bad this war is going to be? So I just want to know, because I've been seeing these people on Twitter, and I just can't believe it. Sorry, microphone's loose. I run a tight ship here, guys. There we go. I see all these guys on Twitter, not even influencers, not even people who are paid to toe the company line, just dudes, just people out there, guys that like have a name and a YouTube channel that aren't just like some bot. These are real people who are still shilling for this administration, still trying to gas themselves out to believe that this is what they wanted, that this is what they voted for, a war for Israel. And not to belabor the point, but I'd also like to point out that knocking out Iran, not only does it do absolutely nothing for us, what it does is it creates Israel as a hegemon in the Middle East. As you could sort of imagine, right? Now that there's literally no significant powers in the region. I mean, they're already talking about knocking out Turkey. I swear to God, I forgot the guy's name, but he's an Israeli, like an Israeli politician, and he's talking about how like Turkey's next, right? They're already talking about that, but the whole region now, uncontested by any kind of significant power. So we basically just created a superpower. Now, you may have a great relationship with a superpower, but in the context of power, that's a rival. We just handed Israel like hegemony of that region. So I hope you all are trusting the plan. I hope you're right. Because the thing is, I'm not mad because I was duped. I'm not mad at people looking back and be like, oh, I was wrong. But it's the people who are still clinging on to this. Like, oh, no, yeah, it's going to work out. It's over, motherfucker. It's over. And any of the more extreme things that you thought, or I thought, any of us thought were going to happen are done in 2027. You know, as soon as the midterms go through, as soon as the Democrats probably clean house, you think we're going to get mass deportations after that? I think we'll be lucky to get what we got this year or last year. It's over. MAGA's a sham. The golden age was a lie, and it was marketing, and everyone got swept up into it, including me. But I think it's important to start to recognize this, to come to grips with it, and make peace with it sooner rather than later. I'll see what you guys are saying. Boosh. Zax, I couldn't get rid of the 2 Rhino Court district judges here because they ran unopposed. Was that in California? Because I remember a few years ago when I voted in California, it was like there were so many offices that ran completely unopposed. And it's just like, it's not even an option. It's not even an option. Voting is for gays and whammons. That's true. I agree that it is for the gays, certainly. But voting blocks of voters do affect elections. And we still have some semblance of representative democracy here. As much of a farce as it continues to prove to be, they still need the votes. So, Papa Cotton, God, I wish I could put chats on the screen. None of that matters. Someone is claiming Shakespeare was a black woman. Well, look, in defense of them, right? I think that's what brought a lot of us here. That's what brought a lot of us to YouTube and even into the conversation to begin with, is that the world lost its mind, right? Like, this was supposed to be a return to normalcy. That was the pitch. And the world had lost its mind for a long time. Like, race, gender, gay communism was rampant. It was nuts in this country for a while. Not to mention COVID tyranny. Not to mention, like, just the overreach of the federal government. I mean, they were trying to do the Ministry of Truth. January 6th arrest. Things were pretty nuts around here for a while. And I do understand why people freaked out about things like Shakespeare being a black woman. I mean, look, that was why I even started YouTube, was because I was like, what the fuck's going on with Star Wars and all this stuff? But you just keep going down the rabbit hole deeper and deeper and deeper. And you find out there's a lot more going on other than just some dumb liberals in California were making content gay. And we will talk about content a little bit tonight. I will get into that in a little while. Excuse me. Because I do have some thoughts on that. And that's a big story that got swept up in this war. But I do want to talk about the war for a little bit. Oh, Zach, are you saying my gain is too low? Really? Jesus Christ. Everything's a fucking mess. Jamalama, the only people benefiting from this war are Russia, China, and the Epstein-class bankers, defense contractors. Our gas and bills and groceries are going to go up. We're fucked. You are leaving out Israel. You are leaving out Israel, the number one benefactor of this war. Listen, you know, Russia and China will probably benefit from it in the sense that we'll be destabilized. We're going to be weaker, you know? I mean, I think we're going to overextend ourselves on this one, and it could legitimately leave us exposed. But no, don't make no illusions. This is a war for Israel. This is a war that Israel has wanted for 60 years, but realistically like 30. This is part of the clean break memo in the 90s, which was basically a plan to wipe out all the powerful countries in the Middle East, right? To just get rid of any threat, any significant threat to Israel's power, okay? It was also, now I know Dave Smith's a controversial person, but he always quotes that Wesley Clark observation of the memo. And also, I would just like to highlight to everyone who doubts these types of things, they did them all. They did them all. So you can put your head in the sand and pretend that memo, wasn't really what it was, or that's just one memo amongst millions of, well, they did it then, but they did it. So it's either a fucking massive coincidence or the people raising the alarm on that memo were right. Okay. But if you remember, I mean, it was around the time of the Iraq War. That was part of the rhetoric too. The axis of evil. Do you remember the axis of evil? Korea, Iran, Iraq. That was the whole package. It was supposed to be we take out Iran too. And then that obviously the American people weren't going for that, so they let it lay low for a while. But then what happened? What happened? Remember they tried to go get us back. We were about to leave Iraq. We go back. ISIS appears. ISIS appears. And we got to stay. And they were pushing for the Iran war back then. So some of the biggest war hawks that this country has seen, George W. Bush and Obama, wouldn't do the Iran war. But our golden boy, the man of the people, our liberator, Trump, he did it. He did it. Yes, thank you, Papa Cotton. The Greater Israel Project is a real thing. Have no illusions. Have no illusions. That's what this war is for. That is what this is for. Just so you know. Normies don't even want to go deeper. Keep complaining about movies like a true culture warrior. Look, actually, I kind of respect that. You know what? If you're going to stay in your lane, stay in your lane. I think that's fine. I see these people, man, these like, I tweeted out, I said, follow me on X, by the way, Foulball Pro. Foulball Pro. I tweeted on X, by the way, that I feel like the right-wing nerdsphere really failed the Iran IQ test. They're all just drinking it up, man. And I'm not speaking, it's obviously a generalization, but they're drinking it up. They're like, oh, yeah, no, this is good, you know. I know a bunch of Iranians who said that they want this to happen. It's like, okay, well, you know, they don't live in Iran. So I feel like the dog in the fight there is a little different. I'm not saying I know what they think, but I'm not using that as evidence for that was the proper move to go to war on behalf of another country. It's like, why? What is this? Like, we're just always at war now. That's a new thing. We weren't just constantly bombing countries who, like, we have a, quote, beef with for the majority of our history. Even in the 20th century, yeah, we had like proxy wars, we had CIA operations, but we weren't just always bombing the Middle East. But we are literally just in a constant state of war. And the America First people, the Trump MAGA people, it's all good. It's all fine. What the fuck? What is happening? Now, I'm not saying you have to be like a anti-war libertarian, but how does this benefit us? How does it benefit us to constantly be bombing and destabilizing the Middle East? You know, we're European. A lot of us are of European descent. Like, I don't want Europe to just get drowned in a sea of Muslims. I don't want that. But these types of bombing campaigns and this type of action directly contributes to that type of shit. So I just want, like, what's everyone's values? Like, what are your principles? Do you care about the American people? Is war just like, you like victory? Does it feel good? I don't get it. I really don't get it. And I'm just, you know, I was telling my buddy, I'm just the most fed up with the so-called right wing in this country, the MAGA people, where I'm just like, so the things he ran on, the things he campaigned on, he's not delivering. You don't have any issues. You don't have any objections. Anything the man does, you'll just take. What? Who the fuck are you? I'm in a coalition with you. We're on the same side. Nah, buddy. Nah. I'm not a sycophant. I don't have any like loyalty to the Republican Party. I had loyalty to the Republicans in the sense that I thought they'd mirror my values and deliver on them. When they didn't, okay. So what do I owe you something? You owe me, motherfucker. You were supposed to represent the people. What I have to stay loyal to what? These traitors who manipulate me by saying the thing I want to hear and then not doing it? What, I owe them something? What the fuck? What is this, the mob? La Cosa Nostra over here? You don't talk outside the family? Fuck you. Deliver or die. Metaphorically. Thank you, Sentient Dildo. Well, I feel like I firmly have found myself on the dissident right, but yeah, I'm not saying I've been there forever. It's been a journey. I'm on a journey. And here we go. Boosh, last time the Middle East was stabilized, there were dinosaurs. No, that's just not true. That's just not true. That's just been the way it's been, you know, for the past 130 years, 140 years. But it wasn't constant war like that. Not the way war is now. Right? Even in Europe. Europe was constantly in war. All over. Oh, there's always some kind of war going on somewhere on that continent, but it was isolated. You know, powers changed, but entire cities were not wiped out. Populations were not displaced by the hundreds of thousands of the millions. The weapons of war were not the same. And wars, you know, before fiat currency, like, you had to pay for a war. You had to have enough gold to pay for the war. You couldn't just keep it going by printing more currency, money machine go burr. You had to actually like pony up the money or the war would fall apart. Now it's just, they're endless. They are. And like, what the fuck? I thought we didn't learn the lesson of Iraq and Afghanistan. You guys like are, some of you are older than me. Like, we've lived through this, right? We lived through the past 25 years together. Like, since 9/11, been an endless conflict with the Middle East. What did it get us? A bunch of dead kids and a bunch of soldiers coming back with PTSD and debt and a completely destroyed currency. Why are you cheering? What are you cheering for? You fucking rubes. You are a bunch of goy. They're right. Stupid fucking goy. Oh my God. Absolutely. Breikenspect. Damn right, Papa Cotton. This isn't right. Yeah, good point, Jamila. I'm sickened by it too. I mean, that's the thing that I'm more angry even than the war. Like, I'm disgusted by the war, but like I said, there were people, and not just Fuentes. There's this other guy. I found this guy, Professor Jang or something like that. He's got a channel called Predictive History, and a video of his came back out into the algorithm because he predicted this very thing like over a year ago. So it's not, people who were paying attention were aware that this type of thing was going to happen. But you're not supposed to cheer it on when it does, like, especially when that's contrary to your values. I mean, that was part of the package. It's part of the package. And the people that are all for it, they make me sick. They make me fucking sick. Also, like, we don't know where this is going to go. Everyone's like acting like it's over. It's like, it's far from over. In fact, I have a video I'd like to play right now regarding this. And I have some clips to play about this, and we will move on. I will talk about something else, but I just, this just has to, I mean, I haven't gone live since since this whole thing, and it's repulsive. All right, let's see here. So I have to do this via like a different window capture system, so you guys don't get to look at my face while we play video. I know that devastates you, and I am really sorry. I know that's got to be super upsetting for y'all, but all right, here we go. This was just today, I believe.
I just want to say I am more fearful than ever after this briefing that we may be putting boots on the ground, and that troops from the United States may be necessary to accomplish objectives that the administration seems to have. But I also am no more clear on what the priorities are going to be of the administration going forward, whether it is destroying the nuclear capacity of Iran, or simply the missiles, or regime change, or stopping terrorist activities. And I think the administration owes it to the American people to have briefings not just for members of Congress, but for the American public. Nothing here should have been classified. It should be available to the American people.
Do they describe...
So, soldiers are not ruled out at all. This whole thing, I mean, that's the thing that drives me absolutely nuts about everyone is the cope. Don't be a panicking. Don't be a panicking. It's not about regime change. Okay, it is about regime change, but we're not going to put boots on the ground. What the fuck do you know? What are you, inside the cabinet? Do they have you at the War Council? Do you know? You fucking propaganda guzzling idiot. You don't know. These things spiral out of control. Does anyone remember 2004 with Trump and the mission not Trump, George W. What's the difference now, right? But George W. Bush with the mission accomplished banner? And then the war went on for another 18 years. Okay? They expected that one to be quick and fast too, or at least that's how they sold it. Why is this one definitely going to be different? Because it's Trump? Well, Trump lied. Trump said no new wars. What the hell do you call this? This is potentially a gigantic war. So how do we know what he's ever going to say? Like, who is this guy? I thought, I was okay with the narrative that he was trying his best in 2016 in that presidency, and the Democrats were just holding him back because, I mean, we were all there. We saw the complete meltdown on the media and everyone and the people that you knew in your personal lives. TDS, real thing. So it did seem like there was a war against this guy. So I was willing to forgive that maybe, that time he didn't really quite know what he was doing and he trusted the wrong people. But this time it was going to be different. This is worse, guys. This is worse. So, I want to be wrong. I want this to just be over. And this to not have been a big deal and not cost us much. We're just going to have to see, because truly we don't know how this is going to play out. We don't know what the cost is going to be. And we don't know. Look, 6 American servicemen have already died. They didn't have to die. Okay? This is not a war of aggression from an outside force in any regard. They weren't even invading Israel. Not that I would have personally objected to that all that much, but it's not even like those stakes weren't even there. This was a complete war of aggression. Oh, we anticipated that they were going to attack Israel. Is that because you shut down all negotiations and Israel was undermining them from the beginning? That this was never about peace, that this was about cornering them enough so that we could just, quote, justify a war? Might have been about that. Oh, Zach's. I love Zach's, buddy. Hey, man, drink the Kool-Aid. On the way to, I imagine, to Vienna, the Ottomans massacred or enslaved every city that surrendered to them, even though they promised the opposite. But Muslims never lie. Figure that one out. What does that even mean? Like, you could say the same thing about the United States of America and the Union. With like Tecumseh's, the Tecumseh's March, where it's like they just massacred like all these people in villages and burned them all to the ground. So therefore, Americans are evil. It's like, what does that even mean? Like, yeah, okay. You don't have to, like, it doesn't have to be, I think it's a great country and I love them. It could be, I don't give a fuck about anything that goes on on the other side of an ocean that has nothing to do with us. Okay? We're gaining. We have a lot of allies in the Middle East. Well, we currently do. We'll see how this shakes out. But we have a lot of we've changed the dynamic a lot. And a lot of those countries are chilling the fuck out because they're shifting their economies to more tourism. Okay? These countries want, I think a lot of them, it seems, the way they indicate, the way the world has been moving, is they want to have a good relationship with us. But we simply can't because of Israel. Because Israel is constantly antagonizing them. Because Israel doesn't care. They want the entire region wiped out for themselves. That's what this is all about. That's what those 7 countries in 5 years plan was. That's what the clean break strategy was. That's what all of this is about. Becoming a regional hegemon and knocking out and decapitating any significant power. And it's just the type of thing you have to like accept. This is the reality. This is what this is all about. What does our greatest ally give us? What the money that we give them freely from foreign aid that we have no oversight on, they buy our weapons back from us? Yeah, great, man. Or we could just not give them the money and just keep the money. And we'd have the money and the weapons, and we wouldn't have to worry about being dragged into these endless wars every few years. Every time they decide, okay, now's the time we're wiping out Syria. Now's the time we're wiping out Lebanon. Now's the time we're wiping out Somalia. Now we're wiping out Iraq, Afghanistan, and now Iran. I don't give a fuck about any of that, man. I really don't. Our safety is not in jeopardy. We have an ocean, 2 on either side. A very big ocean from that part of the world. Their beef with us is that we allow Israel to be a juggernaut of mass murder in that region. Okay? That's their problem. If they weren't our ally, we weren't assisting them with all that murder, I think they'd probably have a cooler relationship with us. But we help them. We're the big brother who anytime, any of these countries starts a fight where we're just like, all right, well, we're here to set it straight, even though they're usually wars of aggression from Israel. This is the reality. No, I didn't. Okay, Zach, sorry. I wasn't suggesting that no cities were ever wiped out. And there were, of course, yes. People, civilians died. People were, but wars, and especially in Europe and just in general, and the world over, were fought on a different scale. They weren't this massive. They weren't leveling cities. Civilians were not constantly slaughtered every time a war popped up. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, all right. I want to play some clips. I thought that these were very interesting clips. And this is, I think, once again, further to understand exactly what we're going up against here. So this was from Tucker Carlson's show yesterday. He did a whole 2 hours on this whole war. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty strong stuff. So this is from his show yesterday. Hold on one second. Okay.
One purpose: to give Israel the ability to do exactly what it wants in the Middle East without getting hassled. And what it wants, among other things, is territorial expansion. Small country. They want parts of Libya, they want parts of Syria, parts of Lebanon. They're an expansionist power, like most powers, actually. Let's demystify this. It's not about the Jews. It's about a nation state that is growing and trying to exert its power. It's that simple. You can take all the spooky stuff out.
Wait a second. I think I might have pushed the wrong clip. Hold on one second. Let me double check that time code. Nope. Wrong time code. I boomered it. I was like, wait, that's not what I was looking for. What's he talking about? Yeah, okay. I got it. So this is just about, what this clip's about is like the grander why about this war, okay? It's what I was laying out, but there's more to it than that. So let me just play this clip, and then I got a follow-up clip, and you guys understand what I'm trying to say. They want living space. They just want living space. That's all they want.
If you want to control the Middle East and you're Israel, you have to decapitate Iran. You don't have to rebuild it. Probably don't even want to. It's too big. It has too much mineral wealth, has too much energy, that huge gas field they share with Qatar, et cetera, et cetera. You probably just want to decapitate it and make it helpless. You want to turn it into a hellscape because it's better for you, because you can dominate a hellscape. Now, that may cause massive downstream problems for everybody else. You could have like a refugee crisis in Europe. Well, that already happened when Israel destabilized Syria. You could have this open bleeding wound. Oh, that already happened when Israel destabilized Lebanon, when Israel pushed the United States to kill Gaddafi in Libya. This is an...
By the way, I always feel like it needs to be mentioned. You know, they always say like they killed Gaddafi, like they killed Khomeini, but he was dragged into the street and raped to death. Just feel like that always needs to be just remember. And he complied with his denuclearization requests. You could see why maybe Iran wasn't so hot to follow in their footsteps.
Ongoing thing. Iran's just the biggest and the final. So getting rid of the Iranian government had one purpose: to give Israel the ability to do exactly what it wants in the Middle East without getting hassled. And what it wants, among other things, is territorial expansion. Small country. They want parts of Libya, they want parts of Syria, parts of Lebanon. They're an expansionist power, like most powers, actually. Let's demystify this. It's not about the Jews. It's about a nation state that is growing.
I hear you a little bit on that, Pop, but he is right about Israel. How he frames it, I don't know that I completely agree. I think he's trying to walk the line to, not step on that kind of landmine that is permanent. Or, I really think Cinch and Dildo made a good point a few weeks ago where he said that like Tucker Carlson probably represents like the old deep state, the old waspy deep state that's sick of Israel's shit and is trying to re-exert power. That's a possibility. I have absolutely no way to follow up on that, but I do think it's quite interesting as a theory. Oh, that's funny, Papa. Because there are a lot of people like Fuentes doesn't like Tucker. There's a lot of guys on the dissident right who are just kind of like, what is this guy? And I get that too. I do. But he's right about Israel. And he's doing good work. And apparently, he was one of the only people in Trump's ear trying to dissuade him from doing this war, which I think is fucking like a G. All right. And then this was, I think, a few days ago. But this is everyone's favorite Senator Lindsey Graham.
History tells us just how complicated regime change is. We saw that when Saddam Hussein was ousted and a terror threat and group moved in. How will the United States make sure that the next Iranian government isn't worse than the current regime?
It's not our job to pick the next Iranian government. I don't remember being attacked by Iraq anytime, in the past. Iraq is complicated, but, we have a relationship with Iraq. It's up to Iran to pick your leader. It's not my job. It's not President Trump's job. We're not going to occupy the country. We're going to give the people of Iran a chance to do something they've never had before, chart their own destiny. We're going to take away from any future regime any future government, the ability to have a ballistic missile program, a nuclear program, or support terrorism. That's what we're going to do. And if out of this comes a new government that we can do business with, great. But having Iran no longer the state sponsor of terrorism opens up historic opportunities. It's the one irritant in the region. It's the one impediment to real peace. We'll never get to where we want to go as long.
They're the impediment to real peace. This is what I love the way people frame these things. It was like someone was, I saw someone on Twitter, like one of these, Ziobot shills, but he was saying about how it's like, Iran in response was committing war crimes. You're like, oh, okay, so they're committing war crimes, but starting the war unprompted with no direct threat, that's not a war. That's totally fine. That's within the rules of engagement. That's not a war crime. Okay. Maybe don't start the fucking war. There will be issues. I'm not like an Iranian defender. I'm not like pro-Iran. But I also feel like we didn't have to do this. We've lost service members from this. And we're going to continue to lose them. And also other innocents are dying. All for the expansion of Israel, for the greater Israel project. Why is that our concern? Why is that something we spend our money on and send our young men to go die for Israel's greatness? Fuck off. Send your young men to go do it. Look, it's the fact that we pay for it, right? It's just like, all right, they're going to have wars over there. Fucking have wars. I don't give a shit. It's not my problem. It's not my country. I actually am concerned with this country. I'm America first. Remember that? This is Trump's whole thing. The American people. But no, not anymore. Not anymore. So I just like that those two clips back to back where Tucker's saying, to get these goals, you don't even have to worry about having a new leader in there. And Lindsey Graham's being like, yeah, no, we don't. Who cares? It's not our problem. All our problem is just murder them and, I don't know, figure it out, guys. We're going to destabilize your whole country, destroy the Islamic Pope. And then, I don't know, figure it out. It's not our problem. It's not our issue. You guys organize your country around, it's like, so you're not even pretending to do nation building. You're just doing nation destroying. There is something unique about this war with the fact that they're not even pretending. Like all the usual pretenses, right? Like they tried that a little bit with the protesters, like, oh, they want them to be free. They're concerned about their freedom. That's what motivates Lindsey Graham and all, this Zionist government and Netanyahu. They're really concerned about Iran's freedom. Why? How does that, do you know how many countries in the world are under oppressive dictators? Are we going to go to war with all of them, just bomb them all? Oh, hey, they said death to America, so kill them. There's people in Europe who say fuck America or America, so what? We just go to war with all the countries who say Like, there are people in this very country who, like, you watched it happen, celebrated Charlie Kirk's death, would celebrate Trump's death, would celebrate like the death of people in this country. You say, fuck America. America's a horrible country. It's like, so what do we kill those people? We just execute them because they said something we don't like? What are you fucking talking about? Like, and this is the type of justifications I've been seeing going around online. People like are on board with this. The people are like saying, oh yeah, these are real justifications for, oh, what, you want the people who said fuck America to have a nuclear bomb? Oh my God, bro. Oh my God. These people. So, all right, the other story, and this is a story that got absolutely buried. By oh, sorry, I'll try to cool with the anti-Semitism sentient dildo. Good point, Iceman. Yeah, I don't like female circumcision, but you don't see me demanding we go into Ghana. Yeah. I mean, it's always so selective. Whenever we want to liberate a country, and by liberate we mean massacre their citizens, like, there are 1 million dead people in Iraq. Like, you think that they would have preferred those million live or those million die? What do you think that they would have preferred for the Operation Iraqi Freedom? I bet probably the former. I bet they probably wish that they were still alive and weren't massacred and destabilized into a fractured, completely balkanized country as it still is today. I don't know. I mean, just call me crazy. Maybe I'm nuts. Oh, my God. Okay, but this was another story, and this happened last week. And it's an interesting one because it's kind of around the realm of what I got into YouTube to talk about, right? This is like entertainment. That's how I started this journey being here. Well, last week, it looked like the sale of Warner Brothers with all their properties, all that massive catalog, which includes like HBO, CNN. I mean, it becomes like, I think they become the biggest in terms of outlets. I think they become the biggest media company. So Warner Brothers was going to be sold to Netflix, and a lot of people were against this. A lot of people on the, let's say, the kind of the right-wing nerd sphere who, want content to be good again, which, look, I empathize with. Don't get me wrong, If I'm going to drink my goy slop, I want my goy slop to taste good, okay? I don't want this gay goy slop. I want my goy slop to be delicious. But a lot of people were thinking, oh, if it goes to Netflix, then they'll just gay everything up and they'll weaken the product. And it looked like it was going to. And then at the last minute, Paramount Skydance upped the bid to a ridiculous number, to the number that doesn't even quite make any financial sense. Like, Netflix looked at that bid and they're like, no, that's too much. And there was also some shenanigans going on, probably with like the DOJ looking at like an antitrust case about this whole thing, which is like just so fucking suspicious. But I think the thing that's like, people are looking at it from there's two very specific camps looking at this situation. There's probably the dissident right perspective, and then there's like the I want my goy slop to taste good perspective, right? And they're thinking like, oh, well, Paramount, Skydance, if they buy Warner Brothers, right, with all these properties, well, then maybe this stuff will stop being gay and might be good again. Now, look, that might actually be true. And like from that perspective, I'm like, well, I do hope we start getting better entertainment, but the question is at what cost? At what cost? So Paramount Skydance, huge conglomerate. Last year buys CBS. CBS like news and then puts Barry Weiss in there. If you don't know who Barry Weiss is, she had this outlet that they purchased called the Free Press. And she kind of masquerades as base. It's kind of like Ben Shapiro, but really she's a Zionist. People will call her a spy. But her like a lot of these people, her North Star, her number one priority is Israel. So the idea was to basically just overhaul CBS and turn it into like, more favorable coverage for Israel, and what looks like they're going to need in the coming years. So that happens, right? Now that was Paramount Skydance. That's David Ellison. Now his father, Larry Ellison, owns Oracle, started Oracle, one of the richest men in the world. I've also heard it speculated that he might be the richest man in the world if you can factor in like crypto into his net worth. So he might even be richer than Elon. Regardless, top 5 richest people in the world. Okay. Last year, I think that was last year. So last year or 2 years ago, I think it was during the Trump administration, forces the sale of TikTok, right? Uses the United States government to force the sale of TikTok. Now, listen, I bought this propaganda too. Because I remember, TikTok, it was a Chinese spy app. It was going to get inside of your, all of your information, get your Wi-Fi, get your personal information, basically be like hacking spy software that the Chinese government, made, which actually I believe because like it's ByteDance is a Chinese company. And a lot of these Chinese companies, I think they all private companies legally have to have a backdoor to the Chinese Communist Party. So I believed that. But apparently that was all bullshit. Apparently that wasn't true. Apparently the big issue with TikTok is that there's too much anti-Israel content on there. There's too much pro-Palestine, critical of Israel content. And so they pulled their strings. The Ellisons pulled their strings with their friends, the Trump government. Oh, and by the way, just so everyone really is very crystal clear on all these things, Larry Ellison is the single largest private donor to the IDF. Now, I don't know if I've heard it said that he doesn't necessarily directly donate to the military, but does donate to like basically what would be like the PBA of like the IDF. It's like to help out the soldiers and stuff. It's not like directly funding the military, but maybe funding the soldiers in all their kind of, different ways that they would need it. Either way, he privately donates as public millions of dollars to the IDF, okay? He's also personal friends with Bibi Netanyahu, the current prime minister of Israel. And they, excuse me, they've summered together. Bibi has come to Larry Ellison's private island, okay? So that's who Oracle Larry Ellison is. Forces the sale of TikTok and gets their algorithm, owns it, installs a head of content moderation at TikTok, literal former IDF soldier. Not making that up. Now, in Israel, you have to be conscripted, so that's pretty much every Israeli. But, what are we doing here? We're splitting hairs. It's, So that's that wing of the Ellison empire. And then his son, David, right? Paramount, Skydance, now got CBS, and now they've got Warner Brothers and all their property, which also includes CNN. Now, listen, I don't know how significant this type of impact is going to have like in the actual tangible world of the media, because like I read the news, but I don't watch cable news. I don't put on, hey, what's Fox News? What's CNN, playing? Sometimes it's actually helpful to kind of understand like what the boomers and like some of the normies, like what they think the news is. It's actually insightful in that regard, but I don't really feel like it's going to adjust the conversation too much. Who the hell watches cable news, right? Like my dad, it's not part of the media environment. But anyway, they bought it. I guess they thought it was valuable, but now they own media. Like everything like Disney doesn't own, Netflix doesn't own. It's like they have it now. Like it's Warner Brothers, it's Paramount. It's like the amount of outlets, the amount of media outlets that are now under the Ellisons, right? David Ellison, Larry's son, what they own. Let me see if I can't find it's an insane list of what has now been purchased by this media conglomerate. And like we need a new word. Conglomerate doesn't quite cover it, It's like there needs to be a mega conglomerate or something like that. Okay, here we go. I found it. Okay, cool. I'll put it up on the screen here. Okay, so if you can see this. All right, so it's like, okay, this is in the Ellison's family empire, right? But okay, so obviously you see TikTok up there, but you've got HBO, CNN, CBS, Showtime, TBS, TNT, Comedy Central, Paramount Plus, Discovery, Nickelodeon, TLC, like look, I understand a lot of this is dated. I get that a lot of this is like, okay, who even gets information from there? But these are so many media outlets. Like I said, it's like basically everything not Netflix and Disney. That's what they've got, and they have all these properties down here like completely under their control. Which, like I said, what's interesting about that is it might actually make the goy slop taste good. Listen, I was saying this. I don't know. I was saying this when Trump had his ascension, and I wasn't on the dissident right, and I wasn't Israel aware, but that was their biggest mistake. If they just kept the slop tasting good, a lot of people wouldn't have noticed. Like the rise of like internet media commentary, I think came directly from the fact that the media sucked. Like I used to go on YouTube in like the 2010s. Let's say I'd watch like a David Lynch movie, and I would need to like be like, what the hell did I just watch? I'm too stupid to know what the hell I just saw. Like I don't have a fine arts degree. What was that? Right? And I'd watch like a YouTube video explaining it. But as I recall, there wasn't this massive ecosphere of media criticism and media discussion. But at some point, I'm sure like me, a lot of people just went looking for explanations. Why does my favorite thing suck? Why is all my favorite shit gay? I used to love Star Wars. I used to love Game of Thrones. I used to love Star Trek, name it, whatever. What the hell happened to all the entertainment? So it created this huge like surge of people pursuing, media critique and media understanding. And inevitably where that conversation goes is politics. It has to, because the motivation behind gaying everything up was political. It was like a political radicalization from like college, re-education boot camps. And those people flooded the entertainment industry. And then, Trump got elected. So, they sound the alarm, let the floodgates open, and everything gets gay and woke and race swapped and all that shit. Well, that, sounds off a lot of alarms to people. People are like, what the hell's going on? You start realizing it. And like I said, so, maybe the conversation stops there. Like, hey, guys, let's all get together and talk about how stupid and gay all this is. But also maybe it doesn't. And maybe you keep understanding further why. Wait, why is that so woke and gay? Right? You start there and then you keep going. But now it got to the point where culture is... What's culture anymore? Right? Like culture's siloed. We don't have a shared culture the way we used to. There's a few things that happen. There's a few TV shows that have like giant viewerships and stuff, like millions of people watch it. There was one that was recent though, like had like Stranger Things, I guess you could say would be one of them. Maybe things like the Super Bowl are these kind of cultural flashpoints, but generally we don't really have that anymore. It's not really a thing, and things are so siloed. So what took the place of that was politics. Became a discussion. It became pop culture as politics. I mean, it's like, what the hell else are we talking about here? And so with that, you got a rise of a lot more like educated people. Now, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of retards out there. Don't get it twisted. I've been on Twitter for the past few days arguing with these idiots. Like, I give them a chance, because it usually starts off relatively civil, and I disagree, but I tend to not strike. I usually refute what they say. I don't attack them. They don't take it well generally. So then it becomes name calling, and then once they move the goalpost, once I've disproven their arguments and they move it on to something else, okay, we're done. But there are a lot of idiots, but there are a lot of people who really started to pay the fuck attention. And massacring how many hundreds of thousands of Palestinians on TV, or we could all see it on our phones in 4K and the internet, kind of changed a lot of people's opinions. So in a way, well, like I said, I don't think this is going to influence the news all that much. They really might put their energy back into making pretty good goy slop. But the other fallout's going to be, if you know anything about Hollywood, they're activist-y. They like their causes. They like to be the empathetic, moral ones. Excuse me. Well, in Hollywood, it's pretty popular to be pro-Palestine. Good luck with that now. Good luck with your post about how much you care about the Palestinian people when, Bibi Netanyahu's like best friend owns media. You know, maybe you can work for Disney, maybe you can work for Netflix, but if you want to work for Paramount or HBO or CBS or Showtime, Cartoon Network, Discovery, Food Network, BET, MTV, VH1, Nickelodeon, you better be pro-Israel. Oh, Jesus. Excuse me. All right, what are you guys saying? Uncle Housey Leotardo. They're doing the same thing the communists did, presenting a view of the world as they want it to be, a psyop to condition your mind. I mean, that's totally true. I mean, that was true about how all this media got gay. It's just that the conversation doesn't stop there, right? It's like that's the first level of like understanding of piercing through the mirage, right? But it's like more layers and more layers and more layers. And then you go down the rabbit hole and you learn some things about the way the world is. Senchadillo, I'll be the goodest goy. Just make my slop tasty, Mr. Berg. Well, listen, that's over for me. I still want tasty slop. Don't get me wrong. Give me that slop. Yum, 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 yum. But it's got to be tasty, you know? But the thing is, like, if you give me a good Star Wars show, if you reboot The Expanse and go into season 7 and make it genius, like, I will patronize that. But I'm not going to go to sleep with the rest of this stuff. All that shit is now my eyes are open, you know? My analysis is much more precise. And I'm not drinking the goy slop. I'm not taking the propaganda and just being like, oh, okay, whatever you say, boss. I'm much more critical. I'm more educated. Whoops. I think you should have just made Star Wars not gay. You know what I mean? You wouldn't have someone who's like now obsessed with politics and dedicating his life to understanding all this shit. I could have just kept enjoying The Expanse, but hey. Oh, well, here we are. All right, folks, I am going to wrap up there because I obviously started late. I'm sorry, but I have somewhere to be. This was, I really hope that next week the technical issues will not be as significant. I am very sorry. I'm going to try to add some overlays and stuff like that so I can have your chats on the screen and add the chat, so I can mention the chat as I click on it on the video there. But yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry about the late start and all the technical confusion. I am still an idiot. That hasn't changed. I'd like to believe that I'm getting better and smarter, and I just don't think that's true. But all right, I'm gonna see who I can send you guys over to. I'll send you over to Leon. Leon's a good shit. All right, folks. Like I said, thank you very much for watching this episode of the MFer podcast. I will be back on Tuesday. Like if you're on Rumble, that matters. If you're watching on Rumble, please press like, because apparently the algorithm is wildly affected by that. You can leave a comment where you can even insult me. Go nuts. Really take a big swing. But all right, that's going to do it for me, folks. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the MFer podcast. Better quality was promised to you 3,000 seconds ago. Yeah, I'll work on it. I'll try to get better. I thought I had it nailed down. I've been on this all day, but I guess not. All right, folks. Y'all have a great night.